Hello, everybody. Aaron Boyd, founder of Bullets Both Ways here. I got a special guest here today, Evan Todd. He's a colleague of ours and a Columbine survivor. Definitely appreciate having you here today, Evan. And just wanted to sit down and chat with you. It's a big week.
Yeah.
Saturday is the 20th anniversary of that horrible tragedy, and just really have appreciated getting to know you the last several months and going through the Faster Colorado program, and that just kind of solidified. Yeah. So those of you that don't know about Faster Colorado, that's the program we sponsor for medical and firearm training scholarships for school teachers, church staff. Faster Colorado, great program for medical and firearms training scholarships. So
absolutely.
It's a big week, and just how you feeling this week, man? Is it 20 years?
Yeah.
So.
It's a lot this week. There's a lot of attention. There's a lot of coverage. But there's, it's tough. 20 years, lots happened, a lot of growth, a lot of, understanding, a lot of ups and downs. It's been a ride. So, but I can't believe how amazing my life is right now. I got, I'm married and a young son, and
gorgeous son, beautiful son.
Yeah, he's
I don't know if that's the right word for a boy, but
no, he's not beautiful. He's handsome.
Yes, that's right.
No, he's awesome though. He's got so much personality and just filled with so much joy and fun, and he's a climber and just getting into everything. And even when I should be mad, it's awesome. Like, I'm proud of him. Like, oh, you made it to the top of the baby gate. Like, good job.
Yeah.
So, no, but things are good. But yeah, this week, brings back some of the tougher memories from my childhood, really, and dealing with death and loss, and so there's, it's a mixed bag this week, but it's also encouraging because there's so many. There are so many good things that have come from Columbine and the tragedy that it was, and then there's been tragedy since, and one of the encouraging things from that was honestly people like you and the Bullets Both Ways organization, the Faster Colorado. There have been so many organizations who have recognized a problem and stood up and say, hey, I want to help out and I want to do something. And so, those are the things that really get me, that encourage me, is the people who do stand up and volunteer. And it's unbelievable coming from what I did, knowing that someone's willing to, stand in between death and destruction and some of that evil and horror, and say no more. We're going to end this. We're going to stop this. So,
absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, and with everything that transpired yesterday, with that 18-year-old girl on a shotgun that, kept 500,000 students home from school.
Yeah.
I mean, it just blows me away how unprepared or unprotected our schools are obviously. And I was absolutely so motivated yesterday after the news started going off in the morning. We got the call like 5 a.m. that the schools were canceled. My wife's a teacher, and I got 3 little kids. So, they were all asking me, Dad, why is school canceled? It's a beautiful day, blah, blah. And we had to have a tough conversation with them. But I didn't want to leave them in fear or anything like that. I wanted to make them feel safe. And so my wife and I sat down and had a conversation with them. But I was so motivated, man, to just like further the efforts of what we're trying to do here at Bullets Both Ways, man. It's like I could hardly contain myself yesterday, man. It was tough. I mean, how'd that sit with you? I mean, because you were involved in that Columbine shooting, had direct interaction with those guys in the library, and then here this chick that's flies out here and she's like a fanatic about that whole thing. I mean, that had you probably have a totally different perspective.
Yeah, there really is a lot to what transpired yesterday, the reactions. But number one, 500,000 kids didn't go to school. It's incredible, and to me, that's a huge admission of failure. The fact that we have a known a known credible threat from an individual, an 18-year-old who just purchased a shotgun. We know who she is. We know what she looks like. We know generally who she's targeting and threatening. And still, we closed down the schools for 500,000 kids, which it's an admission that, number one, the gun-free zones don't work.
Yes.
It's not going to keep her off those premises. Number two, it shows a failure in our system that they admit that they cannot protect every single school every day, and they're playing the numbers. They have a limited resources, limited officers. They have limited boundaries. There's some schools that have one resource officer for every 5 schools, and this is nothing against the law enforcement or resource officers.
Right.
There's just simply not enough of them, and never will be.
Right.
The funding,
And they'll be the first to admit that. I mean,
Yeah,
we
they
work with
are.
law enforcement quite
Exactly.
often. We know they'll tell
Yeah.
you. They'll be the first to tell you that.
They'll be the first to tell you that when this happens, we probably won't be there in time.
Yeah.
It's up to you to find a way to survive, and that is
I mean, that's
disheartening.
Yes. I mean, that's a big reason. I mean, that's a huge reason why I'm all for arming teachers and staff. You
Yeah.
know, obviously those that are willing and able, those that
Yeah.
are comfortable.
Yeah.
Obviously not mandating
Yeah.
every teacher, just whoever
Yeah.
volunteers,
Yeah.
because it's more cost effective as well. And
Yeah.
there's a lot of good guys and gals with guns that are teachers and staff that disarm themselves every day they walk into a school. So
That's
why not
exactly it?
help them protect others? I mean,
Yeah.
they're willing to stand in front of a bullet for kids. Why
Yeah.
not give them the opportunity to save lives at the same time?
That's
So,
true, and that's and that is the bottom line. We don't want to, and me personally, my message is I don't want to arm teachers. I just want to stop disarming the teachers that are already armed and trained and willing and able to do this.
Mhm.
There's millions of them across the country who carry concealed on the weekends, on nights, when they go to church, when they go to malls. They are, they take their rights very seriously, and in the morning when they go to school on Monday morning, they have to leave their firearm at home because we're basically saying we don't trust you
Mhm.
with our children's lives, and that's the exact opposite message that we should be sending. And we need to stop disarming the teachers at the door. We need to stop disarming our faculty, our administrators, and protect the schools. It's a cost-effective and a valuable way that we can protect every single school every day. And you were saying that you had tough conversations and were getting tough questions from your kids yesterday, and I think a lot of people were in that same boat with you.
Yes.
Today and going forward, I think the parents need to be the ones asking the tough questions, asking the teachers and the principals and the superintendents and the school boards where they stand on school safety, and don't just allow them to placate you with, oh, we're taking care of everything, because it's been proven that they're not taking care of everything.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely
so
not.
you need to decide as a parent what kind of security you want for your child, and don't stop until you get that. That is your child that you are entrusting to the school to not only educate but to keep safe and to return them home to you every day alive. And the bar is set there. So you need to ask them what they're doing to do that. And if they're not doing something up to those standards, then contact Bullets Both Ways, Faster Colorado, me, let me know, because I'll help you. And let me know what we can do, because that's one thing that I will do is help protect the schools.
Yeah, absolutely. And it takes a combination. I'm not sitting here,
Yeah.
I don't think you are either, that, firearms are the only thing to do in arming teachers. That's not it. It takes a
Yeah.
combination,
Yeah.
to really have a solution.
Yeah.
And, unfortunately, times have changed and it's time to adapt. And
Yeah.
at this point in time, it makes sense to arm teachers again, those that are willing and able and comfortable, get them trained and certified, and,
Yeah.
then they can become first responders if they're willing,
Yeah.
if they're able, if they're trained. And we've seen, hundreds of people go through the program, faster program now, and obviously it's working out well.
Yeah.
So,
That's another great point is, it's not, every community is not the same. I travel from coast to coast. New Jersey, there's a great school district that I go up to every year and talk to the students up there. And that school district has different methods and ways to protect their students, and that's completely different from rural Kansas or Colorado, or even other places. The problem that we have are a lot of the laws are standing in the way of our communities and our families to decide how we choose to protect our children.
Yes.
And that's the big thing that I think, whether you agree on armed teachers or not, we need to get the laws to a place where the families, the communities are choosing how to protect their children.
Yes.
And let people do it.
That's where the decision should lie.
Yeah, and if New Jersey decides to defend their children in one way, that's fine. They made that decision. That's their children. I'm just saying we need to have the choice as parents how we want to choose to defend our schools and our children. And right now, school boards and state legislatures are standing in the way.
Mm-hmm. So I got to ask, man, 20 years, Saturday's a big day. I know you probably take it easy that day and just try to relax and whatnot. But what's over 20 years, man? What's the main thing, if I can ask? What just keeps popping in your head over and over? I'm sure a whole slew of things, because they're like a reoccurring thing that you just constantly think about. Or, I mean, that just had to be incredible to experience that.
No, it's a good. 20 years. There's been a few things that have run through my mind, and honestly, and this is kind of on the, I don't know, personal level of dealing with something like this, or or even just an awful event or tragedy in your own life. But there's been times where I wish, obviously, it never happened, and then there's times that I denied it even happened in a way. I knew it happened, but I tried to ignore it, where I didn't want to talk about it, and I just thought, well, maybe if we just ignore it, it'll go away, and just be quiet on the topic, and that there was a gap even in society where it wasn't a topic of issue, and then we had Sandy Hook and a few other major events that happened, and we found out that ignoring the issue is not helping it, and ignorance is
not going to go away.
Deadly. Yeah, and so and there's been times where I've tried to run from it, and now 20 years I've come to the realization that this is something that happened in my life. This I can't change the past, but I can change the future, and so I'm going to do what I can to protect and defend the ones I love, and do what I can. So that's where I'm at, and so I just embrace where I fell into life, and this is what I'm doing, and this is where I'm going.
Well, we appreciate you, man. Really do. I'm honored. I remember seeing this on TV when it happened and hearing about it. I never dreamed at that time, 20 years ago, I'd have an organization called Bullets Both Ways and be sitting here with one of the Columbine survivors. I mean, just crazy how life is, man. And we appreciate you and what you've taken on, and what your goals are, and everything you're doing to help out with this effort. And it's needed, very much needed. I mean, would you mind, I know you've probably been asked this many times, would you mind kind of just doing a quick short version of what you saw that day, what went down, and what your experience was?
Yeah. So I was a sophomore. I was 15 years old. That day, I was in the library. It was lunchtime, and I'd gone to the library for a couple of reasons. I'd gotten in trouble with my football coach a few weeks later or earlier, and he had us running laps at lunch as punishment.
Fun.
So me and a buddy of mine that got in trouble, and that day we were like, we're done running laps. We just do not run laps. I don't remember why I think it was a hotter day, and then the second reason was I had a report due for the class right after lunch, so I was waiting till the last minute to finish typing up my report. So hiding in the library, typing a report seemed like the best option for lunch. So we headed up there, and the library is a pretty popular place. During lunchtime, people would finish up homework, and it's pretty crowded. It wasn't completely silent like you would expect most libraries. You could hear some joking around, and we were throwing little paper wads at each other like when you weren't looking, and then all of a sudden, out of the blue, the day completely changed. we heard an explosion outside and looked around, and some people noticed, some didn't. But then we heard more gunshots, and people started to think, something's not right.
I mean, when did you first know it was like a gunshot? Right away, or?
No, there were a couple gunshots that I heard in the beginning, and those didn't really register. Like, I didn't think gunshots. I didn't think anything of it. It could have been someone putting on a roof or, construction. Like, I heard it, but I didn't think of it. And then there was a louder explosion close to the building in the parking lot, and that caught my attention. And so that's when I was like, what the heck? And we saw some smoke coming up through the parking lot in between cars, and I remember standing up from where I was at, and I could see to where the smoke was coming, and it was right where cars were parked neatly in their spots, so there wasn't like a collision. And so that, I remember that being odd, like, that's weird. Like, did a car spontaneous combust, or it just seemed odd. And then immediately there was rapid fire, several shots, and at that moment I knew right away that was gunfire. And that's when I looked back just to see what other people's faces were doing, and that's when you could tell people were recognizing what was going down.
My goodness.
And then right after that, we heard some people start yelling and screaming from outside, and more gunshots, and we saw students who were outside eating lunch start running away from the school, and we all were just almost frozen of like, where do we go? And kind of because of the way the school was situated, there was a door to the outside and a door to the hallway, and neither one of them seemed like a good option from where the two were coming from. And as they started making their way into this school, it was a beautiful day, like I said earlier, and all the doors were open, so we could hear the sound bouncing off the walls. And it seemed like they were coming from everywhere. It seemed like they were inside the school, outside the school. There was no place to go. And I felt trapped. And as that...
So, like, what was going through your mind? Like, were you thinking about your parents? I mean, what were you just, like, thinking, how do I get out of here?
Yeah,
or
that was... At that moment, it was more like, what do I do? How do I get out of here? Like, it was more focused, like, mission-focused, if you will. And
survival period.
Yeah, survival. That was pretty much all that was going through my head at that moment. Right then is when a teacher ran in, and she was bleeding from some wounds she had gotten from the two shooting at her. And she yelled, "Everyone get down, there's kids with guns." People started getting under the big heavy library desk and tables. And I stood up I was standing behind a pillar, and I felt like if I got under there, I was trapped. So I was still the only one standing. She's yelling on the 911 call, get down, everyone get down. And I pulled a chair up, and I thought, if they come in here, I'm going to try and do something. I didn't know what I was going to do, but I knew that I didn't want to be trapped. I was standing, I could run to either one of the doors if they came in. And all of a sudden I heard some more yelling and really loud gunshots right outside the library in the hallway. And
gosh, I just can't even fathom it.
No, and I mean, that's, being down range of inside
your school library.
Inside my school library. Every shot I could feel the percussion in my chest and just the adrenaline, and that was, it was, quite literally a unilateral firefight. We were just sitting ducks. As they came into the library, they walked in the door, and I remember looking around the pillar, just coincidentally at the same time, and I just saw a silhouette of a person. And I see his shotgun starting to lower towards me, and at that moment it was kind of in slow motion.
Oh, God.
And as it's lowering, I tried to jump behind. There was a Xerox machine and as I'm jumping, he fires, and that's when I get hit in the lower left side of my back. As I hit the ground, I'm behind a desk and a Xerox machine, and 2 or 3 shots, I don't know exactly how many he fired, but go over my head, and it hits the desk in front of me and blows shrapnel back from the desk and the computer, the plastic, the glass, into my face, and then they come in and they start yelling for people to stand up, and then they start shooting at random. They're throwing pipe bombs, and at that moment when I saw the two come in, that was when I first realized there was two of them, because I saw one person walking behind the other one that was firing at me, and that's when my thinking changed again. Like, oh my gosh, I thought it would just be one person coming in trying to do this, and so I knew there's two, at least two, but they started walking around throwing pipe bombs, shooting at random. They would make fun of certain kids and then shoot them. They would ask them questions, and they would, no matter what their answer was, they would shoot them execution style and continue on laughing, hooping and hollering. They said, some of the most vile things that I've ever heard in my life about God and faith, and they were racist, they were demonic in every form and fashion. And they eventually made their way back around to where I was at. I climbed under a librarian's desk, pulled the chair up, and was just trying to be quiet, out of sight. One of them saw me and pulled the chair out and kneeled down, put a gun to my head, and said, "Why shouldn't we kill you?" And I started to plead with him and tell him, "Look, I've been good to you and everyone in the school, and you know it." And at that moment, he started to stand up, and he lowered his gun, and his facial expression changed, and he looked to the other one and said, "You can kill him if you want." The other one had...
Gosh, I can't even imagine to be sitting there and hear that. You can kill him if you want. I mean, like...
Yeah. And at that moment, I remember, the whole time everything was happening in the library, I felt helpless because there was two. Like, I can't do anything. There's nothing I can do to stop two individuals with firearms. And I was praying at that time, but then when he said, "Yeah, you can kill him if you want," and I heard time and time again them talk to someone and then fire, talk to someone and then fire, and I thought, surely they're talking to me. They're gonna fire him, whether I'm gonna make it or not, I don't know. And I was sitting on, the ground, and I pulled my knees up to my chest, and I was hugging my knees with my arms, thinking, well, if they shoot, it's, my calf and my leg that it'll have to go through before it penetrates my body. That was the process that I was thinking of at that time. And when they said a few things back and forth, they started to walk out, and I thought, I was almost confused. Like,
Yeah.
how did I, what just happened? And they started to walk out. I stood up. The one who was talking to me turned around, pointed his gun at me again, and I put my hands up, sat back down, and they left. They walked around the school for quite a while, looking in classrooms that were full of kids. They would, they tried to light the school on fire in the cafeteria, and then they came back up to the library and committed suicide. And while they were gone, that's when those of us who were alive, who could get out, got out at that time. And it seemed surreal of what had happened, and it's also still very, I don't know what the word is, but it's unbelievable that someone could do such a horrific thing to another person. So that moment definitely changed the course of my life and the community, the school, the world really.
Yeah.
Things haven't been the same since then. Um, and it's disheartening because we've for a long time almost surrendered to the fear of these events, thinking that there's nothing we can do, but there is, and you guys are doing it, and Vassar, Colorado's doing it,
And you're doing it. I mean,
yeah,
what you're doing now, it's incredible, man. I mean, just where you've come and how you've harnessed this to really the benefit of everybody else, man, and trying to educate people and trying to stand up and represent, man. It's amazing. I mean, that's why you made it through. Obviously, there's something bigger going on.
yeah, I
Definitely something bigger going on.
I agree. Yeah, no, you guys got to sign up for bowls both ways. Check them out.
Yeah. So, Evan, thanks, man. I know you've been asked that question probably numerous times.
Yeah. I give you a little more in depth.
Yeah, I appreciate it,
Yeah.
man. But we're praying for all the survivors.
Yeah.
And, the families, and
Yeah.
it's a big week, man.
Yeah.
Especially with what happened yesterday. And,
Yeah.
I know you got a ceremony going on or
Yeah.
Saturday, and I'm sure there's going to be quite a bit of emotions there.
Yeah.
So.
Well, that's the thing with the 20th year is, just remembering the lives that we lost, the lives that were cut short, and to me, it's a reminder that I don't want that to happen to anybody's kid again, and that's what it really is. It's a renewal every year of the mission to keep our society safe and free, and that's what it is.
That's what it's all about. Well, I look forward to working with you as we move forward.
Absolutely.
Thanks for being here, brother.
Thank you.
And, bottom line, an evil perpetrator shows up with the intent to destroy. We need bullets both ways as opposed to one way from an unchallenged perpetrator. So stand up, represent, prepare, protect those who are willing and able. Counting on you, America.